programming know about me, I will straight away start with my lecture on transfer of actionable claims under TP Act, that is Transfer of Property Act, sections 130 to 136. So, what is an actionable claim? Section 3, para 6 of the TP Act gives you an idea of an actionable claim. In simple words, I can explain to you. Suppose I have to pay 10,000 rupees to Chauhan Saab because I have taken a amount from him 2 months back with a promise to pay him, and it is an actionable claim. So Chauhan Saab is a creditor and I am a debtor. So why it is an actionable claim? Because it is an unsecured debt. I have not given any security to him. By way of, suppose if I give a security of my gold to him, then it is not an actionable claim because it is secured debt. So there are two types of actionable claims under the Transfer of Property Act. One is any claim to an unsecured debt which is claimed by the creditor. So Chauhan is having a right to receive that 20,000 rupees or recover that debt from me. So it is an actionable claim. So that is a claim which is known as actionable claim, and Chauhan as a creditor, he can transfer that claim to anybody, one of the participants like Joby Paul. So that is an actionable claim, unsecured debts. Suppose another type of actionable claim under TP Act is any beneficial right to enjoy any movable property not in the possession of the person who is having that beneficial enjoyment right. So how I can explain? I explain to you. Suppose Chauhan Saab has entered into a contract for a purchase of 100 bags of cement from me. So there is a valid contract, legally enforceable in a court of law. Chauhan Saab is a purchaser of the cement bags. I am the seller. So in that 100 cement bags, Chauhan Saab is having a beneficial right to enjoyment under the contract which is not in his possession. The bags are not in his possession. That possession may be actual or constructive, both. So he is not having possession of the cement bags under the contract, either constructive possession or actual possession he is not having. But he is having a beneficial right. And that beneficial right is also an actionable claim which Chauhan can transfer to Joby Paul under the provisions of the TP Act. So these two kinds of actionable claims are defined in section 3, paragraph 6. But in the second example, in that contract, it is an actionable claim. But before the contract is performed by me, I have committed a breach. There is a breach of that contract by one of the parties. Then if there is a breach, Chauhan Saab is having a right to claim damages or compensation. That right which is having after the breach, it is not an actionable claim, and it is not a property right also. It cannot be transferred because section 6 clearly says that a mere right, a simple mere right to sue cannot be transferred under the TP Act. It is a type of property which is prohibited from being transferred by any person in India. So if I am having that right, or you are having that mere right to sue after the breach is committed, that right you cannot transfer to anybody in India, and so that is excluded. But before breach, whatever beneficial right of enjoyment in a movable property, here movable property only, that right is given as a beneficial right of enjoyment. That movable property is very important. Suppose if we are having a right to enjoyment of a immovable property, that right also you cannot transfer as an actionable claim. It is not an actionable claim. Any beneficial right to movable property to enjoy that property is an actionable claim, and that claim can be transferred under the provisions of the TP Act. So these two claims are known as actionable claim. For example, a claim for arrears of rent, a claim for future rent, these are all actionable claims. So this is what you have to note down in actionable claims. Then another type of actionable claim is what do you see? Another type of actionable claim is a decree that may be passed in a suit which is already pending in a court of law, because if the decree is passed, it is a claim to actionable claim. So this is also a claim. So these are the few examples I can give you before I come to the procedure which is to be followed for transfer of actionable claims by Chauhan. Chauhan want to transfer this actionable claim to Mr. Joey Paul or somebody in the participant. What is the procedure? Section 130 and 131 describes the procedure to be followed. Chauhan Saab has to execute a document in writing. In writing, he has to execute a document with his signature, or with his, even if he is not able to sign the document, his authorized, duly authorized agent can sign the paper, and he can transfer the claim to Joby Paul. The moment the document is executed, it will take into effect. There is no question of any other formalities like registration of the document. All these things are not necessary. The moment Chauhan signs the document, or his authorized agent signs the document, the actionable claim is transferred to Joby Paul. So this is the simple method of transfer of the actionable claim. Then section 131 says notice is to be given to the debtor. Who is the debtor? I am the debtor. I have to pay him. So section 131 says notice in writing can be given to me, so that I will not pay the amount to Chauhan. I will pay that amount to Joby Paul, because the transfer is already completed. So what? So this notice 131, what the section says, notice who has to give? Paul. Chauhan Saab can give me the notice with his signature, or with the signature of the authorized agent of Chauhan can sign the notice. If Chauhan does not want to give the notice, or he refuses to put the signature on the notice by giving the notice, Joby Paul can give me the notice. That right is given to the transferee. Transferee is the Joby Paul, and Chauhan is the transferor. They are legally called as assigner and assignee. Assigner is Chauhan and assignee is Joby Paul. So Joby Paul can also give a notice. Why this notice is given? Because as a debtor, I may not know about the transfer. The transfer has already been made. So in order to protect the interests of Joby Paul, notice is given to me. So that after the notice is received by me, I have to pay that amount to Joby Paul, not to Chauhan. That is my liability. So that is my liability towards the assignee of the actionable claim, not to the assigner. So that's why the notice is given. Suppose if notice is not given, both of them, they did not give any notice, then another section says, under the provision of the section 130 says, even though if notice is not given, notice may be given or may not be given, it is not mandatory under the law. So if notice is not given to me, I pay the amount to Paul. Then that debt is discharged. I need not again pay to the assignee, because I have not received notice about the transfer of an actionable claim. So notice is also one of the requirements of an actionable claim transfer. And that notice, if I receive the notice and then I pay the amount to Chauhan Saab, then I am committing a mistake. I am committing a legal mistake. I may have to pay again to Joby Paul because in spite of receiving notice, I have paid the amount to Chauhan. That is not allowed. So notice may be given or may not be given. But in most of the cases, notice is given by the assignee or assigner with their signature. Welcome to the second session. I am briefly giving you the transferee will take the actionable claims subject to equities between the creditor and the debtor. So I will continue for a few minutes, then I will move to next procedure. Here what happens is when this actionable claim is transferred to Joby Paul, Joby Paul has to claim that amount. But when I have to pay to Chauhan 20,000 rupees and Chauhan has to pay me 10,000 rupees, Joby Paul will claim only balance of 10,000 because he cannot claim the full amount of 20,000. Why? Because the section 132 says what are the liabilities and rights of the assignee. It clearly says subject to any equities between the transferor and the debtor, the transferee will take the actionable claim under the transfer. So I can adjust that to 10,000 rupees, which I have to claim from Chauhan, and then the balance amount only I will clear to Joby Paul. That is called adjustment of this equity. It is like claim of set off in CPC. The defendant will put a claim for set off when the plaintiff is claiming some amount, the defendant in return will ask for a set off. Like that, it is also a part of this 132. Then another important point which I want to stress is Joby Paul, when he has become assignee legally of transfer of actionable claim, he can file a suit. If I don't pay him, he can file a suit in his own right. He can file a suit in his own right. There is no necessity to add Chauhan as one of the necessary parties. That is not required because the actionable claim is already legally taking effect the moment Chauhan has signed the document and executed the document, and Joby Paul as assignee or transferee, he will get all the rights with all the remedies. With all the rights and remedies, Joby Paul will get that actionable claim. He can directly sue me. There is no necessity to add Chauhan as one of the parties to the suit. So this is also one important point which I want to tell you. Then coming to another point is warranty. Warranty about the debtor. That is, Chauhan may give a warranty to Joby Paul about my solvency. About my solvency, he can give a warranty. What is the legal effect of this warranty? Normally, practically, I have seen so many transfers of actionable claims which are discussed in high court judgments and other high court judgments. No transferor will give such a warranty. But if he gives a warranty, how it will take effect? That warranty will take effect only to the amount. And at the date of the transfer, of the actionable claim, that warranty will take effect about my solvency. And that amount is also for the same amount. Now I have to go back to section 130. What is this amount? Suppose an actionable claim can be transferred with the consideration or without consideration. That is also very important. Chauhan can transfer that Joby Paul with the consideration or without consideration. So there are two types of transfers. One is with consideration. That means he will sell He will sell that actionable claim. That means he will transfer that actionable claim for 20,000. Even though I have to pay him 20,000 for the entire amount, he can transfer the actionable claim. He claimed that 20,000 from the Jovi Paul, and there is a consideration. So that consideration, suppose if we transfer the actionable claim without consideration, that is called gift of actionable claim. Chauhan can also give a gift of that actionable claim to Jovi Paul. There is nothing wrong. The law allows Chauhan to transfer the actionable claim either with consideration or without consideration. Then, without consideration, if Chauhan transfers the actionable claim, there is no question of section 133. That is what, no question of any warranty given, because it is a gift. Chauhan will transfer the actionable claim free of any consideration. So that's why warranty point does not arise at all. Suppose if Chauhan has transferred that actionable claim to Jovi Paul for consideration, what is the amount of consideration? To that amount only this warranty will apply. This warranty will apply only to the amount of consideration for which Chauhan has transferred that actionable claim. That is what I have to stress and lay emphasis. So this warranty will be operating to a limited extent. If the debt of 20,000 is transferred for same 20,000, the warranty will extend to 20,000. So he will give a warranty to Jovi Paul that Raghuram is solvent to the extent of 20,000, and that warranty will take effect. That is what it has to be understood like that. This is one point which I have to tell you. Then another important point is the section 136 says legal practitioners, judges, and any officer associated with this courts of justice, they cannot take any actionable claim, they cannot transfer, they cannot acquire, they cannot traffic. It is absolutely prohibited. They are completely prohibited. All lawyers, all persons who are legal practitioners, judges, and any officer working in the courts of justice, they are not allowed to acquire any actionable claims by transfer or by assignment or by trafficking in transfer. Actionable claims is totally prohibited. Even if a judge or a legal practitioner acquires an actionable claim from Chauhan, the court will not enforce that transfer. The court will not give any what do you call any relief to Chauhan, that is Jovi Paul, because that is a completely prohibited under the TP Act. This is one point which I have to note down. Then another point is, suppose I am already given a mortgage or a hypothecation of movable property or a pledge of movable property, they are not actionable claims, because in a mortgage, my immovable property is given as security to Chauhan. I take 1 lakh rupees from Chauhan by mortgage of my immovable property in Bangalore. My land or my apartment I mortgage to him, and take a loan of 1 lakh rupees from Chauhan. That is a secured debt. It is not an actionable claim, because Chauhan is having my immovable property as security to him. So it is not an actionable claim. Similarly, I hypothecate my movable property to Chauhan and obtain a loan. That loan amount is also not an actionable claim, because my movable property is given as security to Chauhan under the provisions of the law. That is also not an actionable claim. Suppose I give my gold ring to the bank people and take a gold loan. That is called pledge. I pledge my gold ornaments or valuable mobile property with the bank, and the bank will give me some loan, and I have to clear that loan. that loan amount or that debt is also not an actionable claim, because the bank is having a security in the form of my gold ornaments or silver or any other valuable items I have given as a security to the loan. So that is also not an actionable claim. Suppose I have already taken 1 lakh rupees from Chauhan by a mortgage of my immovable property. Then I have to receive 1 lakh rupees from Mohan Krishna, my friend, or from Aruna Mishra. I have to receive some 1 lakh rupees from Aruna Mishra or somebody who is my debtor. I am the creditor. I am the creditor, and Aruna Mishra is my debtor. I have to receive that one. Then I transfer that 1 lakh rupees actionable claim to Chauhan. I have already taken a loan of 1 lakh rupees from Chauhan by mortgage. Now, this actionable claim I am transferring to Chauhan. That also I am transferring, because now I am the creditor. I transfer that to Chauhan. So, what the law says, that actionable claim is transferred to Chauhan. Then how to adjust that 1 lakh rupees which Chauhan has received from Aruna Mishra. Suppose if Aruna Mishra has cleared that 1 lakh rupees, how that 1 lakh rupees must be adjusted. The section says, section 134 says, Chauhan has to first adjust that 1 lakh rupees towards the recovery of the debt of mortgage debt. So recovery, costs of recovery, like lawyers fees and litigation expenses, he has to recover from that 1 lakh rupees which he has received from Aruna Mishra or Mohan Krishna, because I have already transferred that 1 lakh rupees to Chauhan as a further security. I have already given my immovable property as a first security. Second further security has given 1 lakh rupees. So that 1 lakh rupees costs of litigation he has to recover first. If any balance is available, then out of that balance, this mortgage debt must be adjusted. Suppose costs of litigation is 20,000 rupees out of 1 lakh rupees which he has received from Aruna Mishra. That is my credit, my debtor, because I have transferred that 1 lakh rupees to Chauhan as an actionable claim, and Aruna Mishra has already paid that 1 lakh rupees to Chauhan, discharge the debt. So 20,000 rupees litigation expenses are recovered as litigation expenses, and then the balance 80,000 it must be adjusted to mortgage of 1 lakh rupees, and if any residue is available with Chauhan, that amount will be paid to me, as I am the creditor and my debtor is Mohan Krishna or this Aruna Mishra or somebody. So that is also allowed. That is called mortgage debt, another security. Mortgage debt is already secured debt between me and Chauhan. Another debt which I have to receive from Mohan Krishna or Aruna Mishra, I am transferring that actionable claim to Chauhan. So Chauhan can adjust that amount in such a manner that this particular adjustment will be made according to the law. This is one point which I have to highlight. Then finally, before coming to the last point, negotiable instruments. This chapter does not apply to negotiable instruments or shares or debentures under the law. So what is a negotiable instrument under the provisions of NI Act? A negotiable instrument is also an unsecured debt. I give a promissory note. I sign a promissory note and give it to Chauhan. This is an actionable claim. I have to pay that amount to Chauhan on the due date. On the due date, on maturity date, I have to pay that amount. So this is an actionable claim. Like that, I have executed a bill of exchange. I have executed a check. So these three negotiable instruments, they are not falling under this chapter. That means this chapter does not apply. Nothing in this chapter will apply to the transfer of negotiable instruments. But sometimes there are some case law, very rare occasions, a negotiable instrument can also be transferred by following the procedure in section 130, because that is not totally illegal. It is not illegal. So Chauhan can transfer the debt of a negotiable instrument either by negotiation under the separate act called NI Act, or he can transfer the debt under the TP Act. There are two choices. But practically, what happens in any country universally is a negotiable instrument will be transferred only under the NI Act, because it is very easy, very simple method of transfer of a negotiable instrument. You need not execute a document like assignment of a actionable claim under section 130. It is not necessary. It is not necessary. A negotiable instrument can be transferred either by delivery or by endorsement and delivery of the negotiable instrument. There is no further formalities to be followed. And the transfer of a negotiable instrument under the NI Act is not bound by any equities between the transferor and the original debtor. So he will take that negotiable instrument free of any equities. That adjustment of 10,000 rupees which I have spoken to you, that adjustment of 10,000 rupees by me, because Chauhan has to pay me 10,000 rupees. I have to pay 20,000 rupees to Chauhan, and Chauhan has to pay 10,000 rupees. I will adjust that 10,000 and pay to Robi Paul the balance amount. That point will not come under NI Act. That adjustment is totally not applicable to NI Act when an actionable claim, that is a promissory note or a bill of exchange or a check, that is the payee, the holder in due course, if we want to transfer that negotiable instrument under the NI Act, the transferee, that is the endorsee, he is called endorsee under the NI Act. The endorser is Chauhan. The endorsee is X. So X will take that negotiable instrument free of any equities. This is what, and you have to learn under this last point, final point, before I want to close this particular session. This is very important for you. And negotiable instruments can also be transferred under the TP Act, but the transferee of a negotiable instrument, if it is transferred by assignment under the TP Act, you will take subject to equities. Subject to equities only you can take the instrument, because it is transferred under the TP Act. It is not transferred under the NI Act. This is what the law declares under the provisions of this transfer of actionable claims. So, final point which I want to stress.
Okay.
A negotiable instrument can be transferred either under TP Act or under NI Act. If it is transferred under TP Act, the transferee will take the instrument subject to equities. Subject to equities under the TP Act. But if it is transferred to the NI Act, he will become holder in due course. He is not bothered about any equities between me and Chauhan. So Joby Paul, if he takes the negotiable instrument like a promissory note or bill of exchange under NI Act, he is not worried about any equities between me and Chauhan. He is not worried about. Why? Because no equities will affect the transferee of a negotiable instrument under the TP Act by endorsement or by endorsement and delivery of the instrument. Whereas under TP Act, if the same promissory note is transferred by Chauhan to Sweta under the TP Act, Sweta will take that instrument from Chauhan subject to my equity with the Chauhan. If Shweta comes to me with that promissory note and asking me the amount of 20,000, I will say, Madam, I have to adjust 10,000 rupees, which I have to receive from Chauhan. After adjusting only, I can pay you that balance amount of 10,000 rupees, because the negotiable instrument promissory note is transferred not under not under NI Act, but under TP Act. That is what you have to keep in mind. So, subject to equities, the transfer of actionable claim will operate, whereas under NI Act, if it is a promissory note or a bill of exchange or a check, the person holder in due course who want to transfer and he transfer to X or Y, X will become holder in due course under the NI Act because he takes the promissory note in good faith for valuable consideration and without having any doubt about transferor's legal title, and he becomes holder in due course. Section 118 clause G of the NI Act also tell you every holder of an instrument is deemed to be a holder in due course. The court shall presume that every holder of the negotiable instrument is deemed to be a holder in due course, because he has taken the instrument from Chauhan in good faith for valuable consideration and without having any doubt or suspicion in his mind about the defect title of Chauhan. He believes Chauhan is having full title to the instrument. That's why he is transferring it to Joby Paul, and Joby Paul receives it in good faith, bona fide. He receives the Joby Paul receives that instrument for valuable consideration. Consideration is very important. Without consideration, if an negotiable instrument is received by any person, he will not become the holder in a due course of law. But consideration is also presumed. Section 118 clause A of the NI Act says the court shall presume that every consideration is every negotiable instrument is issued or transferred or negotiated for a valuable consideration. That is okay. That is okay. But if there is a proof, if there is evidence that without consideration it is taken under the NI Act, that instrument is becoming useless. You cannot recover anything. So under the TP Act, a negotiable instrument can also be transferred. There is no total provision under the TP Act. But practically speaking, in India, I have not come across any case law where except 2 or 3 case laws decided by the high courts, old case law 1940s judgments, there is a transfer of a negotiable instrument by assignment. But every judge has agreed that through assignment and TP Act also I can transfer, or Chauhan can transfer a promissory note or a bill of exchange or a check. There is no absolute provision. That is one point which I have to make before I wind up my session. And I thank all the participants, and I wanted to clarify any doubts. Hello?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Yes, please. Thank you very much, Mr. Raman. Now I'll be giving option to all the. Yes. Thank you very much. Now I give option to all the participants to unmute themselves and raise any query they have in their mind, or have a general discussion related to this subject or any other legal issue. So I've given that option to everyone.
Hello.
Ji, Bhandari Sahab.
Sir, I have one question from the speaker. Number one, as the speaker said that actionable claim had got assignment. How that assignment has been made an actionable claim under GST laws? Can they shed some light upon it? Ultimately, it's a transfer which we can come under the category of goods. I mean, tax implications upon this actionable claim. If the speaker can hear me. So my question is regarding taxation implications, because what I remember, there was a Supreme Court judgment upon it. I think it was Gyan and Drunkely's case, something.
Okay. Mr. Raman, if you can put some light on the query raised by Mr. Dhaval Bhandari, or anyone else also, everybody is welcome to clarify this point if anyone can.
Because an actionable claim is transferable. So I think taxation implications are always there. We can say it as a sale, obviously, under goods.
Okay. I think Mr. Raman's mic is muted.
We can wait for him, sir.
Mr. Raman, can you please?
As far as my knowledge goes, the goods have been defined under Sale of Goods Act, and they are defined not to include actionable claims.
Okay. Ji Bhandari sir.
Hello.
Ji.
Ma'am, that Sale of Good Act of 1930 obviously does not contains actionable claims, but GST Act definition is different because it says that it is a definition under TPA Act. Hello?
Exactly, that is the definition under TPA Act, and goods I think have been defined separately as per Central Sales Tax Act. But as far as GST Act goes, I do not have much knowledge about
includes,
it.
ma'am, because ultimately it's a transaction. Like we assign our actionable claim. So it is going from one person to another. So it's a transfer. Or technically we can say as an assignment. So under what kind of taxation implications are there?
Yeah, as far as my knowledge goes, I think it is not included in Central Sales Tax Act. And I think there is a Supreme Court judgment of 1986.
That's Gannon-Drunkley judgment. No, ma'am. If you just look up on Gannon's Drunkley judgment, it has held that sale of good in taxation law. It includes this actionable claims.
Okay, that is not within my knowledge.
Just pen down that. That is Gannon's Drunkley's case. It's Honorable Supreme Court judgment.
Okay.
GANNON. Prem sir, can you just put? I don't have a laptop with me. Can you just search upon Gannon's Drunkley's case?
Okay, I'm trying. Yes.
It is GANNON DRUNKERLY.
Gannon Turnkeys.
Drunkley. DRUNK. Drunkley. Yes, Drunkley case. Because it has held that they interpreted sale of good and in taxation law, and they said it includes, so they can consider it. But now GST has come, so it has overridden earlier acts.
Yeah.
Earlier we used to have VAT tax and different taxes, but now GST is a consolidated one. I think our speaker would be in better position to answer this question.
Are you talking about this judgment? Constitutional bench?
Screen open. Net slow hai. I'm doing on mobile. Sir, it's Supreme.
Talking about this very judgment. Gannon Dunkerley.
Sir, it would be containing Sales of Goods Act and definition of actionable claim there.
Tax on transfer of property, goods, etc. Central law.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, sir.
It is by a constitutional bench.
Yes.
Sir, because if we see CGST Act under section 2, it says it includes actionable claim. But ma'am is saying that is Sales of Good Act 1930. It definitions exclude this actionable claim. So just can you bring up on the screen both definition? One under Sale of Goods Act 1930. I'm not on laptop. Otherwise, this Sale of Good Act 1930 में actionable claim की definition, sir. Goods की definition. I'm sorry.
Okay. Wait, I'm trying.
Because under that actionable claim has been excluded. It says other than actionable claims. Section 2 clause 7. Other than Section 2 clause 7 of Sales of Good Act.
Sale of Goods Act says
1930. Section 2
can
clause
you
7.
Can you see it? Which section you want?
Not goods.
Sir, it is good says, sir, sub clause 7. Sir, if you just move it upwards.
7. Goods
Sir,
means
it says, it
every
says
kind of movable property other than actionable claims
other than,
and money.
right,
Yes.
sir? It excludes actionable claim. Now,
Okay.
sir, just search
The
CGST Act. CGST Act. Just search on Google.